This is going to be a guide for Sewer Speedway, and first thing we're really going to look at is this brutal shortcut that really everyone kind of hates, I think, and it's super hard to execute. But this is one of my better tracks, so I end up knowing this shortcut pretty well, and I've done this so many times now, I guess I can kind of explain most of it. But the main gist of it is that it's not all about speed, and what's really important is the angle which you approach the jump at the opposite side of the whatever this is, the hole, the pipe down middle, the ramps, okay? And when you jump down here and you go up, you get like a certain amount of height. Now, when you don't do the timing right, that's what ends up happening. The other part that's important is where you jump down to. If you jump onto this curved part and land on this curved part along here, you'll end up getting more speed. Now, you can do this in a few different ways. You can go along this way, you can land and jump up, right? And it's all about having a straight line when you come off the jump off here. You'll get more height by doing that. However, sometimes when you don't do the jump properly and you know that you're kind of going to end up missing it, you can bail before you go and hit the wall, because sometimes what happens is when you hit the wall is that you'll hit the wall, and when you land back down it'll give you a boost, particularly when you get very high up onto the shortcut. So let me see if I can do it here. No, I can't, because I keep hitting it too many times. It's bad problems I have. Okay, let's see if we can get it this time. Okay, we got height, and we land, and we get the boost into the wall. So that's the example I'm showing you. You pretty much get punished for that. If you know that you're going to miss it based on how you're approaching it, or you're not keeping the straight line, you can often like tell once you've done it a good few times. So effectively, I'll try and miss it here, and before you hit the wall like that, and you even have like a bad timing on the jump, you can do an air brake U-turn. So effectively you go like this, and instead of hitting the wall you do an air brake turn so you don't hit the wall, so you can bail at the last second. A good way of practicing this is you can even go all the way back if you want, but typically the way that I practiced it was, well, you can go this way as well and you get the sacred fires. So that, okay, nice glitch there. That's another like really big inconvenience of this track. There's like a glitch right at that point when you power slide off the edge, just there for some reason. There's a few glitches like that on this track. So the faster you go, the harder this shortcut is, and that's what really can catch you out with this shortcut a lot. So sometimes online, maybe you don't even want to go for this. Maybe you do. Maybe everyone's hitting the shortcut, but there's a huge advantage to hitting the shortcut, and in particular you might even want to slow down. Who knows, maybe that's your strat. But either way, there's this other mechanic which Oxide uses on his time trial stuff, and there's advantages and disadvantages of doing it. So effectively what you do is you do one power slide and do a second power slide. You jump up like this and try and get height, and then you land and jump across. So that one is kind of okay, but you waste a huge amount of time. Now even the height that I got off of that jump, you don't need to do it that high either. And if you do a power slide, if you do a boost around here, what often ends up happening is you go too high. So it kind of can be bad. You'll end up seeing, I'll do it again, where you go back here, you do one power slide, the second power slide, and then you jump across, go down and up. So it's not that hard to do it that way, and it's a lot easier to reproduce it that way too. But if you want to get faster speed, doing it the way where you just go along this path here and go across is probably the fastest. So just practice really. And the other thing is around this area is that if you're not going the shortcut, you don't want to be power sliding along right at the edge like up here. Sometimes there's a glitch when you're snapping up and down like this. When you're power sliding, you just lose all of your reserves, especially on those curved pieces there at the edge of the bends. Like you end up saw earlier where I was going off the ramp and it just like stopped me up. You want to kind of avoid that, even though it's a bug and you can't really do anything about it. You want to lower your chances of something like that happening to you. Okay, so this is from the start of the track, and in particular at the very start you probably do like 2 power slides along here, do a jump across, and you want to go this direction. And the reason why you always want to go right is because there's a boost pad. You can get the sacred fire. Now you won't always be able to do this shortcut, but if you do manage to do it, you want to be able to, don't hit off the wall like I did there, but you want to keep straight along here and then to like power slide through here. Now the thing is, up here, do not go up this direction. Just at this point, right, it gets really steep, and it kind of can be glitchy around this point as well. So all along from about here over to the wall, just don't go up this part. It's really steep. You might kind of notice if you go this side, it's much steeper than the other parts of the ramp area. See, here is not as like a steep of a slope, but generally what I had a lot of problem with this track was I would come in here and try and power slide up this way, and you kind of hit this invisible wall, and cutting in too tight can be bad. And cutting in just where I drove through there at this point while you're power sliding is probably the best place. And you kind of go like this and kind of power slide up there, and this is kind of simple. Now the other one is when you come here, when you land, you often get this push into like the center of the track. This happens a lot in relic race. It might end up getting you to drive accidentally into a box like a TNT or a beaker. So for example, if I place this beaker down right at this point here, I can get to a good point. Now there we go. So I'll drive and I'll land just to the right of the beaker, and it will push me into the beaker like that. So it pushes you inwards a little bit. The beaker was kind of a little bit too far forward, but or too far back to really notice it that much, but it does push you in a little bit on each side. And if you go onto the left side, it'll push you just towards the center every time when you land. Now this barrel here is kind of annoying, and when you're playing online, you can kind of do two things. Either one, you can go out wide and see where the barrel is and give you extra time when you're going around the corner. Alternatively, you can take the high risk, high reward of going in tighter and keeping this way. If you're trying to do time trials time, going in tighter is obviously going to always be faster. The other thing that I haven't mentioned was the water. The water back in the previous spot up here, even if you're not doing any good power sliding or anything, don't drive through the water. It's slower. It doesn't look like you're going much slower, but it does, and it decays your reserves faster as well. So you don't want to go through the water ever. Go on the walls. This also affects this area along here, and unfortunately the water that pours down this way also makes this effect too. You kind of want to avoid that if you can. Now the other thing that's important is when you're going along here is that you want to be able to power slide across the walls in tight. But the problem is that sometimes when you go up too close, you'll end up hitting this invisible wall. There's actually an invisible wall that starts right at this point here where you see I am now. Like just above this is an invisible wall. So I'm hitting into the invisible wall. To be able to see exactly where the invisible wall is on this, to prevent you from like sliding down if you want to try it yourself, is that you accelerate and hold handbrake at the same time. This is where the invisible wall is. You can also use this camera. So this is where the invisible wall starts. Now, it's always going to be equated to where that point is on that 3D model across the whole thing. If you end up hitting off that, you lose all of your reserves. It's really bad. So effectively, the fastest way of getting through this is to try and go up the walls and hop off the walls as you're doing it, and you'll gain even more reserves when you land. And through here, one thing that a lot of people don't do is keep in tight cornering like what I'm doing just there. But when you're power sliding and going fast, sometimes people do this a little bit wrong. So typically if you approach a little bit wider, and then you can go in and do a power slide in like this and keep in real tight. Now I did hit the wall there, but you can I turned too tight. That's the problem. But keeping in tighter there can really be the difference between winning and losing a race. And a lot of the time when I've played online, people don't even place TNTs and beakers in that close into the corner because people don't know how to do that stuff very well. Now the other thing that I didn't really mention about the shortcut is there's actually a fast route get back to be able to do this shortcut if you want to repeat it with the Sacred Fire in particular. So you can just go up along this way, do a couple of boosts and jump across, and you get back to here. So this is a really good way to keep practicing that shortcut. So this is really your in-depth guide for Sewer Speedway. If you want to see more Crash Team Racing videos, make sure you subscribe.